Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing with our summer scouting. The boys are fired up about this one. We are talking some Auburn football. Now, this is a team we've talked a ton about in the transfer portal. We've talked a little bit on the recruiting trail. Now we get to talk about how this team is going to look in 2023. Now, before we even get into it, just want to say shout out to the Auburn fans. You guys showed a ton of love during the transfer portal season. And if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, let us know in the comment section what you guys think of the preview. If there are players we're sleeping on, help us out. Let us know. The best part about doing these summer scouting videos is kind of to learn from you guys as well. So appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. And again, it's no secret. The fellas are high on Hugh Freeze and what this Auburn program is going to look like in a couple years. Excited to get into what they'll look like under year one. Dill, I'm going to kick this one off to you. How are we feeling about this Auburn Tigers program in general before we dive into the depth chart here?
I mean, I feel like a lot of coaches are getting a lot more buzz, and certainly some teams, I think people think of the transfer portal and think a lot more like a Colorado and some other programs. But in terms of like pure quality of player, and I don't know that there's anyone who's done it better than Auburn.
I was looking through, like prepping for this, I was like looking through their transfer portal gets. They got double-digit starters. Like the amount of players that they're going to have double-digit players in that transfer portal that are going to start on this Auburn team. This is going to be one of the teams that looks completely different from what you saw in 2022, and that is not a bad thing at all if you're an Auburn fan. And Hugh Freeze has done a beautiful job in the transfer portal. Like a lot of coaches use the transfer portal. They get some guys who maybe washed up. Will just add some depth to the program. Auburn went out and got bona fide starters at the SEC level, and we can start there at the quarterback position. I love adding Peyton Thorne. Like, Peyton Thorne is a guy that I don't think gets enough credit for you see what he did in 2021. Extremely good. 2022 was a down year, and I'm not saying Peyton Thorne is like an SEC winner, conference winner at the quarterback position, but at least adding some depth to that room that, when you had TJ Finley transfer out, it was a redshirt freshman and Robbie Ashford. You got Peyton Thorne, who has shown he can do it at that Big Ten level, and I love him coming over and playing in the SEC for the Auburn Tigers here.
And I will say, I think this will be a bit of a tighter battle than I think a lot of people
100% agree.
I like Peyton Thorne. I think, again, you pretty much described him perfectly. On a good team, he can be very effective. He's certainly not going to be a game breaker, a guy who's going to win you football games. Like when that Michigan State team was good, he was good. When that Michigan State team wasn't good, he wasn't very good. So I don't think he brings like that type of talent. But again, if they play well, and there are a lot of good players on this team, I think he can be effective. But man, if Hugh Freeze can kind of do what he does with quarterbacks, which making magic out of like a Chad Kelly, a Malik Willis, like guys who didn't really do anything in the NFL, he got them playing. And if he can do that with Robbie Ashford, that athleticism and some of the raw talent in him.
I think you see both of these quarterbacks personally, and you made the best point out of all of it. Like I should have started with that. Is Hugh Freeze has made some pretty bad quarterbacks look like they're NFL caliber quarterbacks. Like Malik Willis might not even get he sounds like he might get cut in Tennessee, and Hugh Freeze at Liberty made him look like a first round NFL draft pick.
Same thing with Kelly. It's just
it's the Hugh Freeze effect. I'm confident that he's going to get good quarterback play, and you add Peyton Thorne, that just adds another quality arm to that room. Now, Dill, what's going to be more important than the quarterback play? Because I think we both agree, like, you don't have a Bryce Young back there. You need to surround the quarterback with talent. I want to start with the run game, and I know they went out and grabbed a ton of wide receivers in the transfer portal. We'll get to them, especially with a guy like Peyton Thorne. When he was cooking, that was because Michigan State was elite at running the football with Kenneth Walker in 2021. And you take a look at the running back room. You could go out and get Brian Batty. Jarquez Hunter might be one of the best running backs in the country. I think he gets significantly overlooked because of Tank Bigsby. And they'll, even more importantly, this offensive line completely retooled, and it looked phenomenal in the spring game. And I'm extremely excited about this unit heading into 2023.
And that's frankly been a unit for like towards the end of Harson's tenure that was just really bad, to the point where they made the rest of that team be very ineffective, especially on offense. Like again, Robbie Ashford and Finley and whoever was playing quarterback certainly took the beating for how that Auburn offense played, but good God, that offensive line was not good. And
you can even go back to the Bo Nix days. Like Bo Nix with no offensive line, he goes to Oregon where he has a quality offensive line. He's an arguably Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback. this offensive line, I think, is going to be elite. You go out and get Avery Jones from East Carolina. He's going to be very solid. Dylan Wade, probably an NFL caliber tackle coming at the left tackle. And then you have Gunnar Britton at the right tackle spot. You got three guys who are in the transfer portal who are going to start. I think you could add Jaden Muskrat, who's also coming over from Tulsa. I like his game. And then Connor Liu. Like, from doing my prep on this, reading some spring practice notes, Connor Liu, the true freshman, sounds like he might be starting as well. This offensive line is going to be completely different, and that's probably why I'm the highest on this offense, because I think this offensive line in this run game could be very, very good.
And if they can bang on teams, that gives these two quarterbacks a shot. Again, not guys who you think are going to be like the Bryce Youngs of the world, but man, if you can put them in that offense the way Hugh Freeze runs it, if they can run the football, I think these two, either of these quarterbacks can work out. And that's kind of been the Achilles heel for Auburn, is can they just get something out of that pass game?
You want to know something that I read? Sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to work this in there. I was doing a little prep work for this Auburn deep dive. Auburn hasn't had an offensive lineman drafted since 2018. Like, it's been bad up front. And I think you got multiple guys who are NFL caliber players. So, like, this offensive line is going to turn around. I think the run game is going to turn around. Dill, let's get to the most exciting part. The part that the fans want to talk about. The exciting pass catchers that Auburn bring in. And Dill, I know you want to start. You texted me this name, a guy who was already on the team last year. Hit us with that one.
Yeah, Javarius Johnson, again, another unit that certainly took their deal of criticism. But, man, you look like at a guy in the slot who can complement kind of those two big, more physical wide receivers they brought in Hooks and Shorter. I think Javarius Johnson fits in perfectly with like that. Again, get him the ball in space, work the middle of the field, do those things, catch those balls on third and short when they need them. That seems like his game, and I feel like he'll be helped by the fact that Hooks and Jair Shorter can go make plays down the field. That there was just nobody to do that last year, and they just couldn't push the ball. So now I think it frees him up a little bit, and I want to see him kind of, again, you see the talents there. I just think he's going to be able to thrive in an offense that we think can get the ball down the field a little bit.
This offense in general is going to look completely. I would throw out Caleb Burton, who I'm really excited about, coming from Ohio State. Like, that isn't an example of like a washed-up guy who couldn't make it at his former school. Like, that wide receiver room for Ohio State, like, if you're not an All-American, you're not playing. Caleb Burton, I think, can play. Nick Martiner had a few drops in the spring game, but a nice big body. I should have used the term pass catchers, not wide receivers, because arguably the most exciting guy, Rivaldo Fairweather, coming in at that tight end spot. Like, Dill, you look at this offense. I think every single position group is significantly better outside there. It's hard to argue that losing Tank Bigsby makes your running back room like better, but I don't think it's going to take a step down. And it probably looks better because the offensive line is going to be massively improved. The wide receiver talent, you got like 6-7 guys who I think can really play for Auburn. And then like the quarterback play, it's going to get better because of the Hugh Freeze effect. So this offense, I expect to take significant steps forward. And I'm not saying it's going to be a top 10 group in the country, but we ain't going to see the same offense that was getting run with Brian Harsin in town.
No, and you'll never see that again. I mean, you could have put the same exact guys on the field and it would be better because Hugh Freeze is just
that's actually true. Yeah, 100% agree.
Get better there, but also the players and what they did in the portal on that side.
You get better players, but more importantly, like this offense is just going to look cleaner. Now, Dill, this defense also gets a lot of transfers, and like the offense gets a lot of the hype because that was the unit that really needed to improve. This defense, we'll get to the secondary. I think this secondary could be one of the better groups in the country. Ron Roberts coming over from Baylor, phenomenal defense coordinator. I think that Baylor lost a ton of talent from that 2021 team, and they just didn't have the players to run that defense in 2022. And so Dave Aranda kind of, I wouldn't call it like scapegoat, but I want you just got someone's got to pay for that Baylor team. It ends up being Ron Roberts, a very coveted guy. I know a lot of teams wanted him to be their DC. Auburn ends up getting him, Dill. Let's start with the front seven. A lot of new names. The guy, I got a few guys I want to list, but I'll kick it off to you first. Who are we excited for here?
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of new names, but like I don't think we can forget about these guys on the inside who are coming back. I mean, I think Zykevius Walker is really, really good. You watch what he did in that Alabama game. I mean, I think to me, he's the guy I'm looking for to take a jump and be like a pro. I feel like he's a little more versatile. Jason Jones is good at what he does. He plays the run. He's heavy. He's a physical player. But I think Walker can give him a little more. And then Marcus Harris, a guy we've been talking about for a while now, just an athletic kind of, again, just someone who makes negative plays. And those negative plays are so big for a defense. And I think he's been giving them that for now a couple of years, and look for that to continue. And again, then these transfers, I think, will
Dill,
be
you
most
ain't even
important.
talking about the transfers. You're saying, hey, we got some dogs from.
That's what we've been saying. Auburn's always kind of had a good defense,
Yes.
even in the Harsin era. It was never the defense's issue. And I know they brought in some really good guys. Justin Rogers, you're really excited about. But I do think, like, don't forget about the 3 guys who were here last year who all I thought played really good football.
Fair enough. I love what they brought in up front. And the guy I want to talk about is a new face, but he's not through the transfer portal. That's Keldrick Falk, who, again, diving deep into, like, what players are going to step up, preparing for this. Like, his name just kept coming up. True freshman. Hugh Freeze was able to flip him late. He was a Florida State commit. He sounds like a guy that's going to play significant. And that's the one position that you're a little concerned about is, like, the pass rush, right? You lose Derek Hall. You lose Kobe Wooden. Like, those guys got after the passer, especially Derek Hall, who's coming off the edge that's going to give you some juice. You go and get Jalen McLeod from App State, who was productive at the G5 level. Though what I'm hearing is Keldrick Falk's just a little bit of a different dude. Like, I think 275, moves extremely well. I'm excited for him. And then at the linebacker spot, you lose Owen Papo, but you go get 2 guys that, like, Austin Keys played a lot of football. Larry Nixon is like a tackling machine coming from North Texas. I think that group is going to be relatively solid. And then you get to
and another couple guys, though, you're like blank. I mean, Cam Riley and Wesley Steiner both played football last year. Like, I know that this Our Lads team wants to put these transfers. Okay, they came in, they're going to start. Austin Keys, he's going to be the guy for sure. But, like, I do think Cam Riley and Wesley Steiner can play. They played pretty good last year. And they're not, like, stars of the stars. But these 2 guys can play when you need them.
I'm like the little kid on Christmas who's got the new toy. And
that's what I would be thinking. But, like, you go back and watch Auburn.
I'm like, forgetting about the toys that gave me so much entertainment that are old, and I'll come right back to them maybe after my infatuation with the new toys that we got in the transfer portal. Now, going to the secondary, like, this is a group that I think DJ James probably would have been a day 2, maybe day 3 pick. Nehemiah Pritchett, very, very good. Jalen Simpson can play too. This is the group that is the group that's the best in this Auburn defense. And I think that's massive because Ron Roberts going to want to blitz. And if you're blitzing, you're leaving your guys on the secondary, got a little bit on an island, and you need to have good cornerbacks. I'm really excited for Ron Roberts' ability to get after the passer. And if you are concerned about the lack of pass rush with guys like Derek Hall leaving, this secondary is going to be really good. If Ron Roberts wants to...
That wasn't an aggressive enough defense in general. And I think that, like, left that pass defense a little bit exposed because there were too many times where, like, a Bryce Young, I mean, that was one of the games I was watching where he just had way too much time. And that's not going to be how Ron Roberts runs it. I mean, he's an aggressive coordinator.
Yeah.
I think they have the firepower to play more aggressive. I think this secondary, what you said, can hold up. Like, there's 5 guys now coming back who played a ton of football last year. I think you can trust them and you can go get after teams a little more than what Auburn was kind of doing last year, which it did feel a little more passive.
Yeah, and so we'll look at this. We'll look at the schedule now. Like, you look at both sides of the football for this Auburn team. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and say this Auburn team is going to win an SEC title, but both sides of the ball, I think, are maybe the group on the defense line. I'm saying maybe not. Like, you lose Owen Papo, you lose Derek Hall. Like, those guys were good dudes. It's hard to see this defense not taking a step as well. So you're going to see the offense take a step. You're going to see the defense take a step. This team is going to be dangerous in the SEC, I think, year 1. And what you're even more excited about is you start winning some football games. That's when Hugh Freeze is going to start getting it going on the recruiting trail. Dill, let's take a look at the schedule real quick. There's no secret. Like, it gets hard in the middle. You have UMass on the road at Cal and Sanford to get whoever's the quarterback, get that offense going, right? Like, get whoever's the new quarterback or Robbie Ashford, Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, get him going, because then you're going on the road to Texas A&M, then you go to Georgia, and then you go on the road to LSU. You have a bye week in between, but there's probably not a tougher 3-game stretch that you could find across the country than on the road at A&M, Georgia.
That's a vicious stretch, and to me, I mean, that A&M game will probably be very
winnable. Winnable game.
again, a game they can win. And frankly, two teams that I think are going to need it. It's you saw what everyone did. It just they made their changes at the coaching staff, bring in Petrino. Like they're a team that wants to kind of get it back rolling. Like the recruiting's going well, but they're just not putting it together on the field. And I'm just gonna be ready. And then Georgia LSU, like they're gonna bring it. Those two teams looked awesome last year. I will say, LSU was up and down, so it's like who knows what you're gonna get. Like they play one game, they look awesome against Bam, and then the next game they go get shelled by A&M. So we'll see. I think this Auburn team will just straight up be good enough, and if the quarterback play is solid, to like just be frisky with anyone.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And then you get into a part of the schedule where you can rattle off some wins. Like you get Ole Miss and Mississippi State at home, and if this Auburn team is competitive there in the first couple weeks, like that's going to be a rowdy environment. On the road at Vanderbilt should be a win. On the road at Arkansas, like that's a toss-up game. New Mexico State. Then you got the Iron Bowl. Like, and obviously Alabama probably the favorites, but like freaky things happen that game. Like we know that quite well. So, Dill, I don't think it's crazy that we're talking about an 8-4 season for Hugh Freeze year one. I think
you're a great coach, and you can turn over a roster really quickly, like Lincoln Riley did, like what Brian Kelly did.
Mm-hmm.
Like Auburn, frankly, again, we mentioned it. Like they don't get enough respect for what they did in the portal. They got some mega talent, and not mega, but like just really solid guys.
What it was, I think, is like it didn't have like that star, like that top 5 guy, and so everyone kind of like Colorado got Travis Hunter, USC got Bear Alexander. They all get the credit for it. Auburn just brought in a bunch of solid starting quality dudes, and I think when you look at that depth chart, that's how you describe it. I don't know if they have a single star on this team. I think they have a lot of quality players. That it's a very complete team with what Hugh Freeze did. This is a very. I mean, the boys are high on Hugh Freeze and the.
I'm just like Hugh Freeze is such a good coach, and I know people like get after him for what happened at Ole Miss, but like, man, the guy can coach. Like, I don't care what. Like, you saw him go beat those Bama teams.
100%.
Where they have no business winning. He knows what he's doing.
You know, and we're high on Hugh Freeze. We're high on the Auburn Tigers, so that's it. And very optimistic, but I think a very realistic way that this Auburn season can go. Very excited to talk about this team as the season gets a little bit closer. Appreciate you guys for checking us out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, let us know in the comment section if we're sleeping on any players. Appreciate y'all guys, and we'll talk to you guys later.